Okay, so get this. We're diving into this world ruled by reptilians, and they're facing an apocalypse, and their only hope is finding a true warrior. Buckle up because our source material today is wild. We're exploring excerpts from an audio drama. It's called Aura, The Golden World. It takes place in the year 3080 on this distant planet, also called Aura.
Well, right off the bat, it's interesting that the story starts with the king having this crazy dream. It's a classic way to foreshadow trouble.
Yep.
Especially in fantasy and sci-fi. But this isn't just any dream, right?
Oh, absolutely not. King Aishin dreams of monsters destroying our planet and a huge tidal wave wiping everything off the surface. Now, if you were on Aura, wouldn't that make you wonder what kind of monsters could possibly cause that kind of destruction? It's got to be more than just your average beastie.
Yeah, it really sets the stage for a world that might be a lot more complex and dangerous than we initially realize. And that's where the idea of prophecies comes in. This dream isn't just a nightmare. It feels like a warning, a glimpse into a possible future that Aishin needs to figure out how to avoid.
Exactly. And who brings this chilling dream to the king's attention? Zambo, the wise man. This guy is clearly Aishin's most trusted advisor, the one who can speak truth to power. Makes you think about those real-life advisors throughout history who've had massive influence on rulers.
Yeah, it's that classic archetype of the wise old man, the keeper of knowledge and wisdom. They pop up in stories across cultures and time periods. Often their guidance is crucial to the hero's journey, or in this case, maybe to the fate of an entire planet.
So Zambo tells Aishin about this dream, and it triggers a memory for the king. He remembers the word misty, and guess what misty is? Some seriously mysterious gates located near the Golden River. We're talking gates shrouded in fog with a barely visible ruined temple-like structure in the distance. Talk about an intriguing setting, right?
Yeah. Gates are often used in storytelling to represent transitions, thresholds between what we know and what's hidden. It makes you wonder, why have these gates on Aura been sealed for 30 years? What's lurking beyond them? And why is this specific location tied to the apocalyptic dream?
And here's where it gets interesting. They try to force those gates open, smashing them with logs, basically throwing everything they've got at them. But nothing works. They are completely stuck.
That's a really interesting detail, is that it suggests that brute force isn't the answer here. And it makes you think about the people of Aura. Are they usually this impulsive? Or is this desperation talking?
Good point. And it's Zambo, ever the insightful one, who finally figures things out. After a long, hard look at those gates, he has a eureka moment. Get this. The gates require 10 completed Cap Quest cards to be inserted by a true warrior.
The quest. It's such a fundamental element of storytelling, instantly adding a sense of adventure and purpose. We see it in myths, fairy tales, classic literature. The hero's journey almost always involves some kind of quest, some trial they need to overcome. But 10 of them, that's a lot.
Right, and Zambo doesn't mince words. He says, Arana is testing us. We need to find the true warrior. You can practically hear the urgency in his voice. They are running out of time.
It also plays into that idea of the chosen one, a trope we see throughout storytelling. This chosen one is often the only hope for salvation, the one destined to overcome incredible odds. It makes you wonder, what makes someone a true warrior in this world? What qualities do they possess?
And here's the biggest twist of all. This true warrior isn't even on Aura. Zambo believes they'll find them on another planet. Now, if you were on Aura, wouldn't that make you feel a mix of hope and terror? I mean, what are the chances of finding this one warrior on a completely different planet?
It's a fascinating way to expand the scope of the story, suggesting that Aura's fate might be tied to something much larger than they initially thought. And it opens up so many questions. What kind of planet is this warrior from? What are their values? And how will they even convince this stranger to help them save Aura?
Exactly. There are so many unknowns, and we've barely scratched the surface of this audio drama. What we do know is that Aura's survival hinges on finding this warrior, and the clock is ticking. So we've got these desperate reptilians on Aura, right? A prophecy of destruction, and their only hope is this warrior from another planet. It's like a cosmic needle in a haystack situation. What I find fascinating is that the source material doesn't actually tell us anything about this other planet.
It's true. We're left to fill in the blanks ourselves, which is part of what makes this story so engaging. Is this warrior's planet technologically advanced? Is it a world of magic? Or maybe something we can't even imagine?
Right, and how will they even find this warrior? Will they send out some kind of distress signal across the galaxy? Or is there a more mystical connection at play? It makes you wonder if Zambo has something else up his sleeve, some secret knowledge that he hasn't revealed yet.
It would be surprising. Wise advisors often hold back information. Revealing it strategically at just the right moment, it adds another layer of intrigue to the story.
And speaking of intrigue, how are they going to convince this warrior to help? I mean, imagine being plucked from your world and told to save a planet full of reptilians from some apocalyptic threat. That's a pretty big ask.
Absolutely. It's a classic hero's call,
Mm-hmm.
but with a twist. We don't know anything about this warrior's motivations. Are they driven by a sense of duty, a thirst for adventure, or maybe they're fleeing something on their own planet and see this as a chance for a fresh start?
It's like we're about to witness a collision of two completely different worlds, two sets of values and beliefs. And who knows what kind of sparks will fly when that happens.
I think this is where the fact that the inhabitants of Aura are reptilians becomes really interesting. What do we actually know about reptilian cultures from the audio drama?
Yeah.
Is there anything in the excerpts that hints at their beliefs or societal structure?
That's a good question. Now that you mention it, the source material is pretty light on those details. We get that they're ruled by a king, but beyond that, it's pretty much a blank slate, which is kind of cool because it lets our imaginations run wild.
Exactly. Are these reptilians cold-blooded in a literal and figurative sense? Are they hierarchical and warlike? Or peaceful and communal? The way they react to this warrior from another world will tell us a lot about who they are.
Okay, now I want to go back to something we touched on earlier. Those 10 Cap Quest cards. That number just feels so deliberate, don't you think? It's not like they just need 1 or 2 trials. It has to be 10.
It definitely makes you think about the significance of the number 10 in storytelling and mythology. 10 commandments, 10 plagues of Egypt, even the 10 fingers on our hands. There's often a sense of completion, of wholeness associated with that number.
Exactly. So what if these 10 quests aren't just random challenges? What if they're specifically designed to test certain qualities in the warrior? Maybe each quest is like a piece of a puzzle. And once they're all completed, it reveals a bigger truth about Aura, or even about the warrior themselves.
That's a great point. It's almost like the creators are embedding a symbolic framework within the narrative. And that makes you think about the listener's role in all of this. What other instances of 10 can you think of in stories? Do any of those resonate with what we've heard about Aura so far?
It's like we're all part of this grand puzzle, trying to piece together the meaning behind the story. And the more we think about it, the deeper the mystery becomes. We know they need to find this warrior and complete the 10 quests. But there's so much we still don't know about the why behind it all.
And that why is often what drives the most compelling stories. It's the underlying message, the theme that resonates with us long after the story is over.
I'm also really curious about what kind of challenges these quests will present. Will they be physical trials, tests of strength and skill, or will they be more internal, forcing the warrior to confront their fears and make difficult choices?
It's probably a combination of both. True warriors aren't just strong and skilled. They also possess inner strength, resilience, and a deep understanding of themselves. These quests will likely push them to their limits in every way imaginable.
You know, we've talked a lot about the plot of Aura, the Golden World, but now I want to kind of shift gears a bit and think about what this story is really saying, you know? It's about facing these impossible odds, finding hope in these unexpected places, and ultimately discovering what it truly means to be a warrior.
Yeah, you're right. Beneath all the adventure and intrigue, there's this powerful message about resilience and the potential for transformation. And that message resonates with people across cultures and time periods.
Totally. And it makes you wonder if the creators of this audio drama were intentionally drawing on these classic storytelling tropes, like the hero's journey, or if those elements just emerged organically from the story they wanted to tell.
It's probably a bit of both. Good storytellers are often students of mythology and folklore. They understand the power of these archetypes and how to use them to create compelling narratives. But they also bring their own unique perspectives and experiences to the table, which is what gives the story its originality.
Speaking of unique perspectives, I'm really curious to see how this warrior from another world will react to Aura. Will they be intimidated by the reptilians, inspired by their culture? Will they even understand the gravity of the situation they've been thrust into?
That's a great question. And it goes back to what we were discussing earlier about the lack of information about reptilian culture in the source material. It's almost as if the creators are inviting us, the listeners, to imagine what that culture might be like.
Right. And that act of imagining, of filling in the blanks, is a powerful way to connect with the story on a deeper level. It's like we're co-creating the world of Aura alongside the creators.
It also highlights the importance of perspective in storytelling. We're only getting a glimpse of Aura through the lens of these excerpts. But imagine experiencing the story from the warrior's point of view. What would they find strange or fascinating about Aura?
Now I'm thinking about all those classic fish out of water stories, except in this case, it's more like a warrior out of world scenario. And instead of just navigating cultural differences, they're tasked with saving an entire planet. The stakes are incredibly high.
And that's what makes this story so compelling. It blends familiar tropes with these fresh ideas, creating this sense of wonder and anticipation. It leaves us wanting more, asking questions, and ultimately reflecting on what the story means to us personally.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Aura, the golden world, I want to pose a final question to you, our listener. What is it about this story, about these characters and this world, that resonates with you? Is it the hope for salvation, the allure of the unknown, or maybe something else entirely?
Whatever it is, we encourage you to explore those feelings, to delve deeper into the story and see where it takes you. And who knows, maybe it will spark a story idea of your own. After all, we all have stories to tell.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we urge you to seek out the full audio drama of Aura, the Golden World, and continue your own exploration of this fascinating world. And as you listen, keep those 10 Cap quest cards in mind. What challenges do you think the warrior will face, and what will they ultimately discover about themselves and the fate of Aura?
Happy listening.